So how many of you in Austin have tried to do a build-to-suit or development for commercial real estate property, and you find out there's lots of bells and whistles, lots of moving parts, not so easy to do? Well, what we're here to discuss with you today are the major pitfalls and things that happen around commercial real estate and developments and build-to-suits. My name is Steve Shire. I am president of Shire Commercial, and I specialize in tenant representation and buyer representation, and also help folks develop projects where they want to build their own building. And sitting here with me is Larry Nelson of Larry Nelson Development Company. Larry, thanks for coming in and talking to me today about some things. In this module series, we're going to review quite a few things around build-to-suits and developments and things that are issues. And so I'm glad you're here. I was wondering if you could just give us a quick overview of what your experience is, wise. How long you've been doing this?
Well, Steve, I graduated in 1963 from the University of Texas School of Architectural Engineering. 4 years later, after working for different companies, I decided that I wanted to start my own company. So in 1967, that's what we jumped into. Since that time, we have been doing all kinds of construction. We built 50-some high-class residential homes in Westlake Hills, for example, in our early years. That convinced us that we wanted to be commercial builders and not residential. And so my father and I segued into commercial construction. And our first 2 or 3 projects were development projects. We built them for our own account and leased them out and sold them along the way. In the last 44 years, we have built hundreds of projects, everything from a 60-bed hospital in Gonzales to office buildings, churches and schools, office buildings and retail, a little bit of everything.
Great.
Most of which we have done on a design-build basis, which we were involved from the very beginning with architects, owners, engineers, and we provided the construction element. So
you've done it. You've done a lot. You've done a lot, obviously.
We know most of the stuff that won't work.
That's good. That's good. Okay, so let's cut to the chase here, and just I'd like to ask you a few questions. What do you think's one of the biggest mistakes most people make when they walk out and they say, I have this business, I want to build this property, and what do you think one of the biggest mistakes they make is around that?
Okay, to get started, obviously you got to have a site. You got to have a place to build the building. In the real estate industry, there's the old saying, there are 3 important considerations in site selection, and it's location, location, and location.
Do you think that most folks, the average Joe, doesn't know how to pick out the right location based on demographics and that kind of criteria?
Without meaning to insult any of our potential clients, I think we all do not assign a significant amount of importance to that part of the process. But there are people out there who can help you with the demographics, help you locate where you want to be. Interestingly, because of our bureaucracy tells you where you can be. I mean, it's free country or not,
right.
Doesn't matter what you want to do and where you want to be. If the local municipality doesn't want you there, you're not going there.
Right.
So there's the zoning process. There's all of that.
Right.
So there are lots of ways to mess up.
Okay, great. What do you think is location, location, location? Is there any other desirable trait that somebody should look for when they're choosing a site?
Well, obviously the consumer knows what he wants, and they will have a general feel for where they want to be. If they're retail, or if they're an office building, or if they're a medical facility, or they're a warehouse, industrial, whatever they are, they'll have a feel for where they want to be. Then we can help guide them to find exactly what they want to be with what it can be. The zoning aspect of it, that's pretty easy to determine if the zoning is adequate, appropriate for their proposed use. Beyond that, then there's all kinds of stuff like subsoil conditions. We have different parts of town. In Austin, we are blessed or cursed, depending on how you look at it, and we have the full variety of subsoil conditions. From the east of I-35, generally speaking, we have some bottomless clays that are horrible to build on, and east of I-35, west of I-35, we have tremendous. Usually, it's limestone. It's pretty nice, but there's a mixture.
Okay.
And so that kind of thing impacts the cost of construction.
Okay. If you were, what do you think are if we could label the 3 biggest mistakes that most people make when they go and select a site, or they have this idea of building a commercial property, a warehouse, an office building, a hospital, a medical condo? What do you think, if you could just, I know there's lots of things that somebody needs to think about in their due diligence and working with a developer or a commercial broker, but what do you think are probably the biggest 3 mistakes people make?
Well, the price they pay for the property is probably going to be have the biggest impact. You go out and it's easy to say, well, this is a wonderful location, my business would do well here. But if it costs 3 times more than your kind of use can justify, you pay too much for the land, you've just blown your budget. You know, the first shot out of the box, and you blew your budget by paying too much for the land. The other end of that spectrum is you go out and you say, well, I'm very cost conscious. What I'm going to be concerned about is I want to be sure I that I buy a cheap piece of land, something very affordable. Well, then you go to the other end of the spectrum and you buy a secondary or a tertiary location that really doesn't work for your kind of business. You just bought a cheap piece of land that won't work for you.
Okay, so if the first thing is you pay too much, the second is like you pay too little and it's not the right location, what would be the third one?
Well, that's actually, I guess that's actually just one, the price you pay.
Price, okay.
Well, we already talked about location.
Location.
Beyond that,
maybe not familiar with the zoning restrictions, PUD documents,
there's
all kinds of things.
There's all kind of bureaucracy, bureaucratic things. There's even the neighborhood. You know, in our socialist society that we call the People's Republic of Austin, there's homeowners associations, there's neighborhood groups, there's all kinds of people who are going to have an opinion about what you're proposing to do that are come out of the woodwork when you start go through the application process. And so you need to be aware of the neighborhood environment. Are you going to be well received? Because if a neighborhood's come up and oppose what you're doing, it's going to cost you time and money to get through their process.
Okay. So this concludes the first in a series of modules that we're going to dive in deeper on some other issues around commercial real estate and development, build-to-suits with Larry Nelson. I want to thank you for your time, and we look forward to seeing you on the next module where we're going to get into some more detail. Thanks, Larry, for sharing your time with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it.